A man without any equipment or weights, simply walking on the ocean floor, is next to impossible. And yet, we're both seeing it. And no, it's not some sort of one in a million person with superhuman abilities. It's a regular member of the Bajau people. He can walk underwater, see far better than you or me, and go much deeper than we could even with the best of trainings. And so can his neighbors, kids, and perhaps, if they're not too old, even his parents. Up until recently, I didn't know that any of this was possible. So yeah, this is not like one of my standard videos, but still I think it's amazing and I want to share it with you. So we will learn about a group of people called the sea nomads, their way of life, and even how they've specifically evolved to adapt to sea life better than any other group of people on the planet. And for fun, I'll also tell you how in 2004, one of their ancient legends passed down from generation to generation managed to save thousands of lives. So let's begin. The thing is, sea nomads are not a united group, and they never were. The term is used for a collection of tribes in Southeast Asia that have a traditional way of living close to the sea. Different groups speak over 10 languages, and their members can be found thousands of kilometers apart. And even then, there are strong similarities among them, and that is what I will talk about. There are three kinds of sea nomads. The first group has settled inland permanently, either because they were forced to or because they were simply looking for a better life. But they kept their strong ties to the sea, so often they are sailors or fishermen. The second group builds houses in shallow waters, as you can see here. Sometimes an entire extended family would live in one house, so the grandparents, aunts, uncles, children, everyone. And other times it would be a common nuclear family, so parents and children. These houses are not permanent. Often, after a few years, a tribe might decide to simply pack up their things and go to a different location where they would set up their village and start over. And the third kind is drastically different from anything we can imagine. They spend their entire lives living on a boat. They would travel from island to island and occasionally come to land, either to trade, gather supplies, or bury their dead. One boat houses one family, and sometime in the past, entire tribes would travel together. Imagine that, massive fleets of hundreds of boats housing hundreds of families, traveling from island to island and exploring the world. Today, there might not be tribes that are constantly on boats, but there are still individual families that live that way. When one boat meets another, it's a celebration. Even if the families don't know each other, they will spend the day together, eating, having fun, and trading goods. Also, this is one of the main ways information spreads, from family to family, boat to boat, which can be crucial for their survival. After that, they would go separate ways, happy that they made new friends. And when they did live in groups, they were quite an equal society. The majority of them never had a caste system, lords, nobles, or members that were too powerful. Sometimes they had a representative, like a chief, but that was all he was, a representative, not a ruler. Sadly, throughout history, it was quite common for powerful people that lived on land close to their villages to try to force them to obey, pay taxes, work for free, or serve in the military. But if the local lord asked too much, the tribe would simply pick up their things and leave. Sometimes they would travel hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, going to a completely separate country, finding a suitable place where no one was around, and simply setting there. Because In a way, the entire sea was their home. And that is the reason why throughout history they've managed to keep their independence and culture. Because when you think about it, they never had a powerful military. And also, they didn't have economic might. But they always had the sea. That was their way out. And who at that time had the capacity to track them going island by island, hundreds of kilometers? But in recent times, that has changed. I will give you an example. For over 1,000 years, tribe members have been going all the ways from the Philippines south to the shores of Australia and East Timor. Truly a remarkable journey. But now countries control their international waters, and that is not allowed. There have even been cases of their boats being taken away and destroyed. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I have an easy solution to this problem, but I think that under no circumstances should we destroy their boats. To these wonderful people, boats are their home and only way of providing for their families.
Now let's look to one specific group of sea nomads, the Mokens that live off the coast of Thailand. In 2004, an extremely strong earthquake created a giant tsunami that killed more than 300,000 people in over 10 countries. The Moken shores were one of the places hit hardest, but they managed to survive, thanks to one ancient Moken legend. When the sea recedes for no reason, it means that the spirit of Laboon, a huge wave, is unhappy, and he comes to purify the earth. This is scientifically correct. I mean, not the Laboon part, I don't know about that, maybe. But before a tsunami, the sea does recede. And that's how they knew that a tsunami was coming. So they were able to escape to higher ground. Sadly, their villages and boats were destroyed, which is a tragedy. But most important of all, the people survived. And let's take a moment to think about how amazing that is. The only logical explanation is that hundreds and hundreds of years ago, their ancestors suffered an awful tsunami. They couldn't understand it, so they created stories of spirits and giant waves. And in those stories, they put a warning. When water goes back into the sea, a giant wave is coming. That warning was passed down from generation to generation for hundreds of years. And in 2004, it saved thousands of lives and perhaps even their entire culture from destruction. And finally, let's talk about their biology, because in some very specific ways, they are different than the rest of the planet, better adapted to sea life. For example, the Mokens have much better underwater vision than you or me. I mean, unless you're a Moken. When under the surface, they can see both farther and clearer. So hunting fish with a spear or collecting shells is much easier. To us, that might sound like a superpower, but to them, it's natural. And then there's the Bajau that mostly live on the shores of Indonesia and the Philippines. They are the only people on the planet that possess a specific gene that causes their spleen to be 50% bigger than for the rest of the human race. This allows them to stay underwater far longer than a regular human could. It's almost unbelievable. They've adapted so well that their core biology has changed. I hope you enjoyed learning about these people as much as I did. It was honestly a pleasure to make this video. If you want to support a small channel, feel free to subscribe and press this button. It will help you see my videos in the future, and it would mean a lot to me. And I also want to thank my dear friend that recommended this topic. If you have any video suggestions, feel free to write them in the comments. Also, this is a bit different than the videos I usually make, but YouTube says that you would like these two videos. So if you're interested, feel free to check them out. And I hope you have an amazing day.